Well, my background since 2008 has been as a counsellor. I came here from the UK in 2009, so my background since then has been counselling and having my own business, working as a therapist locally.
Awesome. So, well, not traditionally a filmmaker, so what inspired you to create Dream End? Where did it come from?
Yeah, well, what occurred, I guess over the years, I've always just enjoyed film, always enjoyed going to the cinema, and but what occurred, I guess in terms of in counselling, it's always a lot about personal growth and etc. So over the years, I'd always been involved with different kind of programs. There was one person I've worked with in particular. We did like a men's retreat at one point, and we just some different coaching about how to up level business and what the next level thing is. So what actually happened, what it was born from, it was the start of last year, start of 2025, and it became an almost challenge. We were looking at what percentage I thought I was operating, and the coach I was working with did a challenge. He said, well, if you were at 100%, what would the thing be that you could do to stretch towards? And then that just became, I'd make a film, and that was the start.
On the topic of psychology, has your practice and experience as a counsellor, has that played into any aspects of the script or in your directorial vision for how you want to see things?
I think it must do. Just as a natural occurrence. And we're studying like psychology and one of the things literally when I was just reading about play and the psychology of that. I've always been interested in dreams, which I write about in my book. A director I always loved, whose work I was blown away by was David Lynch, who passed away. I always remember seeing, it was the most blown away I've ever been at the cinema, like when I saw Mulholland Drive at the cinema. And so, just that the whole idea of just the dreams and symbols and like movies that are, like one of his other movies, one of my favourites, Lost Highway, it was quite an inspiration for this film actually, where you're literally having what you're seeing on the screen is the person's internal process. It's not the thing that's happening.
What is at the core of this film? What is Dream End? What can you boil it down to?
I would say it's our protagonist Frank's dream, and it's him processing moving through his grief and trauma. From his realisation that his partner died in an accident, him moving through that with the ambiguity of if he does actually wake up or not, and also the kind of, the sub-story or secondary story about like his girlfriend's appearance and, well, if she is actually real or... But fundamentally, we could say it's a man in his grief and trauma from an accident and the loss of his girlfriend. I just wanted to give an overall experience, and I think maybe the main part of it will be done like visually, just through like the locations and in a lot of the slowness and a stillness, for someone just to have that connection with if we say like a universal experience of grief and trauma, to be able to like follow through and have a level of identification with what our protagonist Frank is experiencing. I would say. We could even say. In psychology, when they say about the stages of grief, there's literally like throughout that we could say there's anger, depression, denial, bargaining, acceptance. We could even say it's not quite so. Just defined as that, but in a way, throughout the movie, and everyone, well, most people at least, and if they haven't now, they will at some point have experienced grief. So, some to have like an identification with our protagonist moving through that experience.
Awesome, yeah. And from a personal perspective, why do you need to make this film? Why is this film something? Because you say, you know, if I was at 100%, I would be making a film. But why specifically Dream End? Where does that come from you?
Yeah, well, I think that I felt maybe just my level of I guess my personal growth, my stretch. My background is, as you know, like counselling and psychology. So I work with people with grief and trauma, sometimes even like daily. It's so that's become so sort of familiar to me in my work supporting people, and then I guess from that and again just from like past inspirations, like I love a film, and again I always loved the work of David Lynch, and that I'm sort of talking as I'm thinking, but I really remember that time when I saw his movie Mulholland Drive. It's not my favourite movie, and it didn't even like maybe have the longevity of other films to me by any means, but just that way, like that ability to portray like different aspects of reality, like the waking space and the dream space, and just for that to be able to be presented in a way visually.
And you felt like that could apply to the stages of grief and how people move through that.
Oh well, definitely. I mean, his movie isn't definitively about grief, but it certainly has those aspects in it, and I remember just that experience I was left with from that, just that constant like thinking of how things fitted together and what was actually real and what was the dream space, and I guess for Dream End it's quite different. It's not as dark as those movies, but for that to have that identification with our protagonist, again following through his grief, and to be able to have an identification with that, and just for that to be able to put in a kind of in a visual and sound space which feels I'd say like beautiful to one degree or another, and also just can leave people having that experience, and also just I always remember that level of questioning I had, also just a level of questioning and wondering as well, like what parts are actually real and not, because it is still Dream End is deliberately open-ended. We know the idea is anyway, that Frank is in hospital. His girlfriend did die. We know that, but then there's the overall ambiguity of if Frank does actually wake up at the end, and also if his girlfriend is just part of his grief and trauma process, or if she did somehow spiritually, she has actually the spirit of his dead girlfriend. So I kind of like those open-ended parts, just leave people questioning and thinking.
Two lines that really stuck out to me, and they're two lines that Frank says. And he says, I think they're the real moments, the ones where you just let go and you're really just in the present with whatever is going on.
Feeling what that might be like, in terms of them having that dance, and that, I mean, that point, that's like that part of the story is like when he's doing a last ditch thing to kind of hold on. So he's in that space where he obviously just really loves her. He knows she's gone, and he's just in that process of like memory and just like the kind of in the moment, and just really, what would you say, like eloquently thinking about life and what's really important. Inspirations, like particularly from some of those movies, I said where I remember leaving the cinema, and there's certain ways that I took inspiration from where I've seen grief and trauma displayed, and like I know how it's like hit me and stayed with me on the like quite a powerful, almost like visceral kind of level, and it just seems something great to be able to try and I guess do a script and to present something that can potentially have that kind of impact and give people that kind of experience. Well, hey, I'm just personally excited. I'm really happy I've got to write it, and the team currently on board, and just feel excited of following the process through, and so it's out there for people to experience. Awesome.
And you're currently in pre-production, about to get it filmed, about to get it made.
Yes, pre-production phase at the moment.
Is that very exciting for you, or is it daunting?
Oh, a bit of both really. I would say both. Healthy level of both at the moment.
A healthy level of both, awesome.